let's talk about the Vatican, the home of God, the church, and all that good stuff. But what if we told you that in the 1980s this holy land had its own money laundering conspiracy? Well, it does, and it's pretty damn crazy. So grab some holy water because we're going to tell you all about the Vatican's very own dirty little secret right here. The year is 1982 and Pope John Paul II is making his way through the crowd at an audience with his followers when suddenly he freezes. What is this? A cold sweat breaks out on his forehead and he collapses into the arms of his security detail. As soon as the news breaks that the Pope has had a near-death experience, everyone is on edge. Who would want to kill the Pope? And could they get away with it? Let's find out. Afterward, the Pope recovers and he carries on with his life, but not before shaking up the Vatican Bank to find out how someone could have poisoned him. And while the answers may surprise you, one thing is for sure, it's going to take you on a wild ride filled with secrets, lies, and enough twists and turns to make your head spin. After all, it's not every day that you hear about the Vatican being involved in anything shady. In fact, you probably think of it as the last place on earth where secrets are kept. But don't be fooled because the Vatican has its fair share of skeletons in its closet. And once you hear about the strange happenings of the 1980s, you won't ever see the church the same way again. So sit back, relax, and let's delve deep into the world of Vatican secrets together. It was a Sunday like any other when the Holy Father made his way to the window to address the crowds gathered below. He blessed them with a wave and spoke a few words of wisdom, but no one could have guessed that just hours later, he would be fighting for his life. In fact, it was almost like something out of a movie script, except this time it was real life. The Pope had been poisoned, but who would want to do such a thing and why? Was it a crazed fan, a disgruntled employee, or someone sent by the enemy? To find out more, the police began an investigation, but quickly hit a wall. There were no leads, no witnesses, and no motive. It seemed like the case would go nowhere, which left everyone with more questions than answers. But then something unexpected happened. One of the Pope's security guards came forward with a shocking revelation. He had seen a woman acting suspiciously around the Pope just moments before he collapsed. She had been lurking close by, watching him intently, and had even been seen talking to someone on the phone. Could she be behind the attack, and if so, who was she working for and what was their motive? The authorities wasted no time in launching a full-scale manhunt for the mysterious woman, but as it turned out, she had vanished without a trace. This only added to the intrigue surrounding the case and made everyone wonder just how far the conspiracy went. As days turned into weeks and the mystery deepened, the Vatican decided to take matters into their own hands. They launched an internal investigation into the bank to see if there was any foul play. And what they discovered was nothing short of shocking. It turned out that the bank had been laundering money for the Italian Mafia and had even been involved in a number of shady dealings. This was a scandal of epic proportions, especially considering the church's reputation for being a pillar of morality and justice. Everyone was stunned and outraged. How could the Vatican have been duped? And what was the true extent of their involvement? As the scandal grew, so did the pressure on the church to come clean. And finally, the truth emerged. The mastermind behind the whole operation was none other than the Vatican Bank's director, Bishop Paul Marcinkus. He had been working with the Mafia for years, laundering their money and turning a blind eye to their activities. But why would a man of God do such a thing? Was he simply greedy or did he have some other motive? Unfortunately, we may never know the true answer, but what we do know is that he was eventually brought to justice and sentenced to a fine, along with several other accomplices. But this wasn't the end of the story. As it turned out, the Vatican had lost millions of dollars in this scandal and they were determined to get it back. This led to a series of events that was nothing short of a financial nightmare. First, the Vatican tried to sue the Mafia, but quickly realized that this was a losing battle. The Mafia was notoriously tight-lipped, and their assets were hidden away in offshore accounts. It seemed like the money was lost forever, but the Vatican wasn't ready to give up just yet. They turned to the courts and filed a lawsuit against the Italian government, claiming that they were liable for the loss. But this, too, proved to be a futile effort. The courts ruled that the Vatican had brought this upon themselves and refused to pay out a single cent. At this point, the Vatican was desperate. They needed to recoup some of their lost funds, but didn't know where to turn. That's when they hit upon a risky plan. They would start their own bank, the Institute for Works of Religion, and use it to invest in high-risk ventures all over the world. This was a risky move to say the least, and many people doubted that it would work. But the Vatican was in a tough spot and was willing to take any chance they could get. So they moved forward with their plan and started investing in everything from real estate to stocks to even gold. But as it turned out, this was a disaster waiting to happen. In 1984, the Vatican's bank collapsed and they lost millions more. It was a financial nightmare that could have been avoided if they had just played it safe. The Vatican was now in a precarious position. They had already lost millions and now faced bankruptcy. People were starting to question whether the church could even survive this scandal. But somehow they managed to pull through and came out on top. Despite the odds being stacked against them, the Vatican managed to rebuild and reclaim its position as a global powerhouse. It was a remarkable feat and showed the world that no matter how much dirt you throw at them, they will always rise to the top. But let's not forget the human element of this story. In the midst of all the financial turmoil, there were real people who suffered greatly. Bankers died mysteriously, witnesses disappeared, and families were torn apart. Take the case of Calvi, for example. He was a key witness in the investigation and had uncovered some of the most incriminating evidence against the church. But before he could testify, he was found dead in his apartment, seemingly of a heart attack. However, rumors persist that he was actually poisoned to keep him from exposing the truth. Then there's the story of the missing banker. He disappeared without a trace after uncovering some shady dealings within the church. Some say he was kidnapped by the Mafia, while others believe he was simply trying to escape the clutches of the Vatican. The truth remains elusive, leaving us to wonder what really happened to him. These stories may seem like they're straight out of a thriller movie, but they read all too real and serve as a reminder of the real human cost of the Vatican's financial scandals. When you think of the Vatican, you probably imagine a place of peace, religion, and charity. But in the 1980s, it was a hotbed of corruption, deceit, and murder. From the poisoning of the Pope to the collapse of its own bank, the Vatican had its fair share of scandals. But through it all, it managed to survive and emerge stronger than ever. The story of the Vatican in the 1980s is a reminder that no institution is above scandal and that even the highest levels of power and wealth are not immune to the dark side of human nature. One of the most shocking aspects of the Vatican's story in the 1980s is the way that it managed to stay afloat despite the staggering losses and scandals it faced. It is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the unwavering commitment of its followers that the church was able to survive such turbulent times. Even in the face of financial ruin and public disgrace, the church's followers remained steadfast in their beliefs, and the church was able to weather the storm and continue its mission of spreading Christianity throughout the world. It's a story of resilience, determination, and the power of faith that continues to inspire people around the world today. While the Vatican may never fully escape the shadow of its past, it's important to remember that it's not defined by its mistakes. The church has done countless good things throughout history and continues to be a source of hope and inspiration for billions of people around the world. So as we reflect on the tumultuous times of the 1980s, let us also celebrate the positive contributions of the church and its followers and look forward to a future filled with peace, understanding, and compassion. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our other videos on the dark side of the 1980s. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest content. Thanks for watching.